Joining us now, Congressman Darrell Issa of House Judiciary. So let's go through the allegations. Let's come down to the allegations. How serious are they? That she falsely claimed she was married to her father. She falsely claimed that Norfolk, Virginia home was her primary residence. It's 500 miles away from New York. And she told a mortgage lender that she was buying a 4-family dwelling in Brooklyn. It was a 5-family dwelling. What do you make of all this?
Well, it's quite serious because willful fraud in order to get an economic advantage is clearly much more serious than what she tried to allege from President Trump. It's one thing to say you think property's worth more than it may or may not be worth, or that you're richer than you think you are. That's open to some debate as to what you think things cost and are worth. But if you're just outright lying about where you live and what you're doing, there's no question at all. That's fraud, and it's extremely serious.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And yes, today we have to head back to New York. Why are we going back to New York again? Obviously, you all know why. It's to speak on Letitia James. And why are we still speaking on her? Because I think it is only right and appropriate that we give her all of the attention that she wanted. Remember, she wanted to be in the national spotlight as this big national politician who is known for taking down Trump. This is what she ran on, right? She wanted to create a name for herself off the back of destroying Donald Trump. But it looks like the shoe was on the other foot, and she is now reaping what she sowed. So before we get into the actual news and the meat of today's video, what I want to do is play a clip. Many of you all have seen this already because I've played this on previous live streams. But this is a quick, I think the word I'm looking for is montage of clips put together in which Letitia James very gleefully would talk about taking down Donald Trump during her campaign while she was running to become AG. So let's look at this clip of Letitia James when times were, we'll say, a little happier for her, right? Because things have definitely gotten very bad and very cloudy outside for her right now. So let's jump into this clip next.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
I will never be afraid to challenge this.
The irony in saying, oh, we're definitely going to sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. Oh, this did not age well at all. We'll take it from the top. My apologies.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president.
We need to focus on Donald Trump. We need to follow his money.
What is fueling my soul right now is Trump.
This illegitimate president. I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, and then going home.
And you are an illegitimate attorney general. And I look forward into coming into my office every day, making videos about you, and then going home. My, how the tables have turned. They have definitely turned. Recently, yesterday it was, and I want to pose this question to you guys as well. It's a question that was posed to me in the comment section. Someone asked me, do I believe that this story and all this information would have come out if Kamala Harris won the election? And my answer to that individual was yes, because for many of you, you might not be aware, is that this story concerning Letitia James' alleged, we'll say, mortgage fraud, if I remember correctly, this story actually broke sometime around in February, right? But the only reason that it actually picked up steam was because of the criminal referral that followed, we'll just say, a month and a half afterwards. So this information was going to come out regardless. It came out no more than 30 days or so after Trump won the election, and it was independent of Trump. The man that broke the story is not affiliated with Trump or his administration. So yes, this information would have come out. But my question is to you is, if Harris won, would the Harris-Walz administration's DOJ picked up on this and put in a criminal referral to which she can now possibly be facing federal prosecution, right? Now, I'll answer that question for myself. The Harris DOJ would not have picked up on this. I'm curious to know what you guys would think. So yes, this information would have come out, but whether or not the Harris-Walz administration would have picked up on it and, pressed the line on it, that I'm not so sure of. But now concerning and going back to the individual that broke this story originally, I want to play a news clip for him here. I want him to speak for himself and talk about this bombshell information that he revealed on Letitia James that has now turned into a criminal referral that could come down the pipeline and become an actual federal indictment on mortgage fraud. I want to play this clip here because he speaks on some things that are very interesting that's going to bleed into the insurance fraud allegations. So let's get into this clip of that man next.
All right. We have a great guest tonight. Sam Antar is a forensic accountant who has a very colorful past we'll dig into here in a bit. He is the man that dug all of this up on Letitia James. He's the source of all this information. Sam, thank you so much for joining us here on the set.
Thank you for having me on, sir.
You're a New Yorker. You live right down the street, and this is some fantastic work here. I want to start and get into just the specifics first. Starting with this Virginia property that she claimed as her primary residence while she was, this is Norfolk, Virginia. This is probably a 5-6 hour drive, claiming it's her primary residence while she's the AG of New York. From your report, you say James signed a specific power of attorney declaring her intent to make 604 Sterling Street in Norfolk, Virginia, her principal residence, a legally binding statement that may have automatically vacated her position as New York Attorney General under Public Officers Law 30. A declaration that came just 45 days before she launched her case, her civil fraud case against Donald Trump. Tell us more about what happened in Virginia here.
She purchased a property with a relative. It was in 2023, a few weeks. She closed
2 years
on,
ago. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She closed on it right before the Trump trial. And in the file documents with the county clerk's office, there was a power of attorney that she gave her cousin or niece to close the mortgage.
Yep.
And on the power of attorney, she represented that I intend to use this property as my primary residence. Now, there's two problems with that. The first problem is she lied on the power of attorney. Would anybody really believe that she was going to move to Virginia in the middle of the Trump trial? Second part is there's section 6 of the mortgage that states that the borrower, meaning her and her niece, have to occupy the property as their primary residence within 60 days. Not one or the other, both.
Wow.
She at least never occupied it. Right. That's
and what was the motivation to do this? Why lie?
Lower interest rates.
Lower interest rates. So I want to move on here. Let's talk about Brooklyn, New York. This is her actual main residence. She walked out of this house this morning, a townhouse she owns. It's a multifamily home. You discovered James has been claiming that her townhouse is a 4-unit dwelling when it actually has 5 units. Why would she do this?
To obtain lower mortgage rates. Again,
same motivation.
If 1 to 4 units has different underwriting guidelines, and also insurance too, by the way, insurance fraud. Whereas if it's 5 or more units, it's considered a commercial property and also subject to different insurance guidelines.
Right.
She repeatedly lied because there's a certificate of occupancy that states that it's 5 units. And in New York, that rules. And it's unbelievable that that complaints were filed with the Department of Buildings, and they wrote it off as a minor problem, minor error. Where every other landlord in New York, if you pull that stunt,
right.
Illegal conversion, having a building that's different from the certificate of occupancy,
yep.
They will fine you. They will make you alter the building.
She's flat out lying on these documents. She didn't deny anything about it.
So I want to stop right there. Let's stop right there. And I want to backtrack to where he spoke about insurance fraud. He touched on it lightly, but I want to go into this article here that dives a lot deeper into the allegations of insurance fraud, which is more than likely the case if we're following the pattern of things concerning her behavior logically, right? So now that's what I want to do next. Let me pull this article up for you guys right now. So now here's the article that really breaks down the insurance fraud allegation, and it's titled "New in the Letitia Files. Did New York Attorney General Letitia James commit insurance fraud too? It looks like it." Let's dive into this to really break down what's going on with these insurance file fraud. And the article reads as such. Firstly, disregards James' claim of residence for a home mortgage in Norfolk, Virginia. Whether a home is owner occupied or not plays a significant role in how insurance companies determine rates of homeowner insurance. Owner occupied homes, the primary residence in which the homeowner actually lives, are typically considered lower risk by insurers. They believe that these homes are better and regularly maintained and monitored, and that issues like water damage, fire, or theft are more likely to be caught early or prevented altogether. And that makes logical sense. As a result, insurance premiums for owner occupied homes are generally lower. These policies often come with standard coverage packages, such as HO3 policies, which include protection for the dwelling, personal property, liability, and loss of use. The article continues to read, in contrast, non owner occupied homes, such as retail properties, vacation homes, or vacant houses, pose a higher risk and usually come with a higher premium. For rental properties, landlords need specialized insurance, often called DP3 policies, that covers the dwelling, liability, and potential loss of rental income, since tenants may not maintain the property as carefully as a homeowner would. The risk of damage increases, leading to more expensive coverage. Vacant homes are considered even riskier due to the potential for vandalism, theft, and undetected damage. These often require separate vacant home insurance policies with limited terms and elevated costs. Ultimately, insurance companies base their rates on perceived risk. Whether or not a home is owner occupied is a key factor in that calculation. Regarding Letitia James' claim of only 4 units in her apartment buildings in Brooklyn, insurance policies for apartment buildings vary significantly based on the number of units, with a major distinction occurring between buildings with 4 or fewer units and those with 5 or more. So now we're going to get into the potential insurance fraud regarding her Brooklyn properties. Let's get into this. Properties with up to 4 units, such as duplexes, triplexes, or fourplexes, are typically treated as residential properties for insurance purposes. These buildings often qualify for standard residential insurance policies, such as a dwelling property DP3 policy, or even a homeowner's HO3 policy if the owner occupies one of the units. These residential policies are relatively straightforward, come with lower premiums, and usually include coverage for the building structure, liability, loss of rental income, and potential protection from items like appliances. Since these properties are smaller and often self-managed, insurance companies consider them low risk. In contrast, buildings with 5 or more units are generally classified as commercial properties and require more expensive commercial property insurance policy. These larger buildings face greater risk due to the higher number of tenants, increased maintenance needs, and more complex liability exposure. As a result, commercial insurance policies are more comprehensive and customizable, often including coverage for the building itself, general liability, loss of rental income, or business interruption, equipment breakdown, ordinance, or law compliance, and even crime or vandalism protection. The underwriting process for these policies is more rigorous and may involve property inspections or detailed financial disclosures. Because of the high risk of the broader coverage, premiums for commercial apartment insurance are typically much higher. And that is what Letitia James will most likely want to avoid. By representing the apartment complex that she has as a 4-family unit when it was indeed a 5-family unit. Now, the article continues to read, in many cases, these properties are managed by professional firms rather than individual landlords. Understanding the difference between residential and commercial classification is essential for property owners to ensure they have the appropriate coverage to protect their investment. By misrepresenting both the residency status for her Norfolk home and the number of units in her Brooklyn apartment building, Letitia James may well have broken the law. And most likely, honestly, that's the only logical conclusion that there is. Because why would she, if she represented her Brooklyn units as a 4-family unit, when clearly they were 5-family units, as we saw classified by the Brooklyn Borough, you wouldn't take out insurance for a 5-family unit, knowing how much of a pain in the behind that it would be to get that kind of coverage, and not only how rigorous that process is, but how much more expensive it would be. She wouldn't do that. She's representing her unit as a 4-family unit when it is a 5-family unit. Therefore, I'm going to get insurance under the guise of it being a 4-family unit. That's only logical that she would do that. The same thing concerning her home in Virginia. So it's more than likely that if you look deeper into this, especially if the federal indictment comes down and now folks are prying more into her finances, into the insurance on the property, so on and so forth, I think that once you pull the veil back, we're going to find more and more fraud. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also, as always, do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. That's extremely important that you guys follow me on Telegram, please. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.